Hey, Mike, what do Kelly Slater and PT have in common?
I don't know. They're both world champs?
Nope, they both own Endless Summer box set.
Oh my God, rad. You guys, you can get it too. The link's in the show notes.
Went down to Waimea Bay. What a fantastic sunny day. Boys and girls hanging round. Surfers going up and down. That's when I caught my wave. Knew what to do. Surf that wave right to the shore. And it's dreams come true.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Quivercast. I am Mike, your host. Let's get into the show. All right, everybody. This is Mike here at the Quivercast, and we are at the Showroom Factory with Lance Collins of Wave Tools. How you doing, Lance?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good.
Thank you for doing this. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You got a deep history in surfing, right?
Yes.
How did you get into the surf industry?
Trying to make a living, and couldn't make one, and I have fun making surfboards, and I found out I can make a little bit of money doing it. And so actually made more money making one surfboard than I do working for a place for a whole week.
Yeah.
Back in the late 60s.
Okay.
And so I just kept doing it. I did it for about a couple of months and stuff, and I was not living with my wife and kids at the time. I was staying at my mom's house down at the beach, making boards in her garage. An opening came up to buy a retail store up in Pismo Beach. Guys was closing down. It was called Blue Chair North.
Okay.
And he was bailing. And so I called him up and made arrangements with him to go up there and take over his store. And so I went up there and I started my first retail store up in Pismo Beach.
So you realized the surf industry and making surfboards, you made more money in life.
Yep, it was nice. I enjoyed doing it.
What year was this? Your first board?
69.
69 was your first board you shaped?
Yep.
How'd you learn?
Just went and bought a blank and a Surform and just started doing it.
Really?
Nobody told me how to do anything. I just learned myself.
100%.
I did ding repairs, and so I learned how to use resin and fiberglass, and so I just started doing the whole boards.
Okay. There was no mentor for you?
None. I never have ever one, ever.
You surfed before you started shaping?
I started surfing back around 57 or 8.
Wow.
When I was kind of pretty young.
How old were you at that point? 58.
I was about 14 or 15.
Okay. Where'd you surf at? Where was your first wave?
Seal Beach and Newport Beach.
Okay.
And there, yeah.
Where were you living? Where was the family living?
Well, my grandparents lived down in Newport, so I stayed with them quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
And then my mom and we all lived up in Rossmore and Los Alamitos, and so it was easy to get to Seal Beach from there.
Yeah,
when I was in high school.
Okay. Were there other guys surfing with you? Did you have friends surfing?
A couple. Not too many. There was I started learning to meet some guys back there later on in high school, and that was kind of fun.
Yeah. Okay. But you had this fascination with surfing?
Yeah, it was a great thing to do. Everybody likes that, getting into it. It's a really nice sport.
It is.
Yeah.
You're looking around, and the lineup's probably not very crowded in that early time of surfing.
Back then, it was more crowded than it is now.
Are you serious?
In fact, the main surfboard manufacturers, sort of like Hobie or Jacobs or Weber or any of those guys, I've heard stories that they're making each one of them up to 400 boards a week.
Wow.
Nowadays, people are lucky to make 5 to 10.
But there was only a few shapers at that point, though. There's a lot more shapers now.
Lots. No, then.
Oh, there was a lot of shapers then?
Yep. Nowadays, it's easier. Any Goomba can do it because they got shaping machines, and they don't even do them themselves. They just throw a label on it, to pamper their egos, throw their name in the water, and that's it. Back then, it was big stuff because of the big surfing movement that was in the mid 60s.
Yeah.
Like all the surf, what do you call them?
The surf movies? Or?
Yeah, those surfer bands and stuff.
Oh, like Beach Boys.
And they made a lot of surf movies.
Yeah.
And so the population of surfing in the LA area was huge compared to it is now, even though, well, there wasn't that much population then, but nowadays, there's a lot greater. The percentage of surfers nowadays is like minute compared to what it was then.
Really? Interesting.
Yep.
And you decided, I'm going to get into this business.
Yeah, I just like doing it. I didn't, I went to Western High School, and there's a couple of guys up there surfing, and I just kind of like doing it. Okay. Something to do.
Yeah. Were you good?
Going on it more and more.
Were you good?
Yeah, I was pretty good at it the first 2 years, and I was starting to surf in contests. I was getting really good. I could switch stance. I was really good. In fact, I was going out. I knew Corky Carroll. He was a little bit younger than me.
Okay.
And so we were all starting in contests together. But he was at the beach more than a lot of those guys than I was. I was living inland.
Yeah.
And I would have kept doing contests and doing really well, but I was in the racing industry at the same time. I got in a really bad accident and blew my leg off racing. And so that kind of stopped moving ahead.
You were racing cars or motorcycles or what?
I did a little bit home stuff, cars, but like professionally, boats.
Oh, okay.
And,
got it.
So I got in a bad boat thing and messed me up.
Do you want to talk about that? What happened?
The drive line flew off the boat and hit my leg and knocked it off.
Holy shit.
And so they took me to the hospital and sewed it back on. So it took about 2 years for me to start getting around on it again.
Oh, my God.
So by then I was getting kind of older, and I could never surf as well because my leg was kind of messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understandable. Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. I did not know that. Okay. But you still were in love with the surfing and the surfers?
Oh, yeah. I love it. Like I just kind of was in the industry making them move down here. And I wasn't no great force or anything back when I first started, when I moved down here, but I was hanging out with some really good people and got to know a lot of good guys in the industry.
Yeah.
So I started my own little surfboard shops down here in Newport. It just started growing in notoriety really a lot.
Yep.
And then I opened up this factory up here, and it was like probably one of the bigger factories it was in California. I just kept going with it. I just got to know a lot of people in the whole industry. The clothing industry started back in the 80s back then, and I was already making surfboards around here for 10 years. So I got to all the people that started all the clothing companies. I got to know. I kind of knew most of them anyway, and so they started it up. So I was involved in it. My son got really into it. He started surfing pro when he was really young in the early 80s, and did real well with that. We knew all the people that ran all the big companies, and so he got a lot of really good sponsors off.
Yeah. We'll jump into Richie a little while. Let's stay on the early days with you. You're getting clientele. Everyone's wanting a Wave Tools board, right? In the 80s, 70s?
No, back in the 80s, we got really in the limelight. It was really good.
Yeah.
But I did, this business has gone up and down probably 5 times. Down to where I'm the only guy working here to where I've got 15 to 18 guys working for me.
Wow.
It moves all around. And like most guys that are in the industry have the same problem, just goes up and down.
It's
depending on your circumstances or the environmental stuff, what's going on in the government or whatever.
Oh, I never even thought about that. How did you come up with the name Wave Tools?
Well, when I first made my first board shop up in Pismo,
yes,
we didn't know what to call it, and I was a Christian guy, and so we were making surfboards, and I go, well, these are tools that we use to go surfing, so let's call it Wave Tools of the Spirit. Yep. And so I was up there, and my first store in Pismo, I was doing it like that. We ended up losing that shop up there because somebody sold the building that we were in. We moved back down here and started doing Wave Tool surfboards, but we took the name Spirit off because God said, don't use Spirit. I'm not pumping you, pump yourself. And so I took the name Spirit off of it and just made it Wave Tools. Yeah.
Okay. I got to ask you, God talk to you, or did you felt like it wasn't the right name?
God talks to me all the time,
Okay,
all day
fair
long.
Okay.
I walk. That's what it is being a Christian, is having a relationship with Jesus Christ all day long.
Okay.
Yep.
Does that mean you're always praying?
Endlessly.
Okay. No, that's
I'm praying
good.
right now.
Okay.
Yep.
So you come down here. What makes the name really blow up in the 80s? Like, is it because of Richie becoming a pro surfer and getting pretty
I was
famous?
way more famous before he even started doing anything.
Okay.
And that was because I tried everything I could back in the 70s to get us going, because I'd look at all these real famous guys from Hawaii and around here, and I was really, I looked at them and I was really envious of it, and I was going, what's with those guys? You know, those guys I make their boards.
Yeah.
And then I make my own. And so like I couldn't figure it out. And so I tried all these things, advertisements, getting team guys doing everything, and we couldn't even hardly get going to first base. And so I just kind of quit trying. And then out of nowhere, God just comes along and just goes, you're famous. And he just made it work. I mean, everything I could do. And then it just out of nowhere, it just happens.
Wow.
And so like in the 80s, I could not make enough surfboards. I was making as fast as I could. I could not make enough. And we even started a T-shirt company that my wife did.
Yes.
She could not make enough T-shirts. She was one of the first T-shirt companies down here in Orange County. She had like 5 kids working for her, and she was making them as fast as she could print them. And so we did really good for about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Between me being a goonbah, God didn't like what I was doing, so he kind of cut me off. And the rest of the industry kind of ate it too. It was really a big bummer. The whole place went down, and I was one of them. But
what year is this, do you think?
I don't know, around 83 or 85, somewhere in there.
In the 80s, early 80s.
And then all of a sudden, after that got done, it just everything started coming back really strong again for a while. Yep.
So that was one of those ebbs and flows we have in the surf industry.
Big one. It hit the total bottom. I lost everything I owned. I lost except for this factory. It was all gone. We were sleeping in somebody's garage floor, and I owned like a house, 5 cars. I had everything. I had so much money, it wasn't even real. And Clark Foam told me I was making the most boards there was in the whole industry for about a couple of years.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're guys coming to you, obviously guys, the people like me that are off the street, but we're pro surfers coming to you and asking you to shape boards for them?
Yeah. I made some boards for like, I even made a couple of boards for Sean Thompson back in those days.
Oh, wow.
Couple other really top pro guys, you know, they just kind of were rolling along, seeing what works and stuff.
Yes.
And then about the mid 80s, Al Marin started taking off, and he got Tommy Kern, and then that guy went ballistic on that. Everybody started going towards that. He had really good. Yep.
Let me ask you this. Are we like sheep? Do we just follow the next best surfer, and whatever they're riding, we want to copy?
That's about it.
Yeah.
And
I see that.
There's like, my reality is this: there's 4 things that sell a surfboard.
Okay.
Number 1, if Billy's riding one.
Okay.
Number 2, if all your friends are getting whoever's the hottest guy on the block.
Yes.
Because, you know, there's local guys that get really famous.
Yes.
Number 3, if it's the cheapest board around.
Okay.
Number 4
price.
is if it works. People don't care if they work. They don't even have to work.
Right.
Because most of the boards, in my opinion, most of the boards in the industry, and even now, are totally non-functional. And the only way that they get them to work is because a surfer can overcome the stuff that makes it not work.
Okay.
Even top pro guys, they really spend a lot of time trying to keep the surfboards under control.
What makes a good surfboard?
Most boards that are made in the industry, almost all of them, they're made very well. The glass shops and the shapers, you know,
Yeah.
they can shape stuff almost totally perfect and glass it perfect. If you have like anything that you make, you know, it has attributes of something performing excellency or non. Now, in this surfing industry, if they were gauging the use of surfboards between who would get to the finish line the fastest, they would all fall short really bad. Just like I used to race cars, we'd go to Indianapolis or all Riverside and stuff. If you didn't build the engine right and the car right, you're going to lose. Okay?
Right.
the driver couldn't overcome that because it was a speed factor.
I got you.
But in the surfboard industry, there's pictures of, listen to this, there is pictures of Kelly Slater riding an ironing board.
Wow.
Or a board.
Because he's that talented.
Door.
He's that talented.
A door. And he's surfing on it and turning
I've
it
seen
and
the
everything.
door. Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So, a surfboard.
There's your fact.
There you go. That right there is the fact. That's reality.
True. That's true.
Now, I've seen guys, I have pictures of them. They have, especially my team riders, they go and they get a free surfboard for some other company after they've been using my boards. And I have pictures of them surfing. They're surfing worse. They've dropped down maybe 30 to 50% of their ability.
Okay.
Compared to when they were using our boards.
Yeah.
Now I look at the top guys in the world right now, John, and a few guys are way on top of it. And I watch those guys, they can't even do a bottom turn or a cutback on the boards they got because they slide out. There's so much air underneath them. And they've learned how to overcome that a little bit so they can keep going. But back in the 80s, they didn't have that problem. The surfboards turned real well off the bottom or off the top. But nowadays, they don't do it very well. The pro guys have learned to overcome that, and they can make them work, no matter how messed up they are.
So it's not the boards that are working, it's they're talented surfers.
Yep, the surfers. I've seen, like, back in the 70s and the 60s, I've seen guys, because I've learned about how the logistics of surfboards work, and I've seen even those guys back in them have the same problem.
When you go in to shape a board for somebody or you're shaping a new board, are you open-minded? Are you listening to the person?
I want to listen to what the guy wants.
Yeah.
I'm like a surf coach, a counselor.
There you go. I like that.
There you go. And so I listen to what they want, the size, the shape, and everything. And then I listen to what their abilities are, and I try to get some pictures of them surfing. And I can tell them what twin fins do, what tri fins do, what quad fins do to help fit the mode that they're in and what they need to help them surf better. The surfboards I make are pretty much the same look as what everybody else makes. There's just a lot of little factors that I put into it that helps them perform a little better.
Okay. In the 70s, you're blowing up. In the 80s, you're blowing up. You guys are doing very successful. At what point do you realize that your son, Richie, has the talent to be a top pro and one of the best in the world?
Well, we knew that he was doing really well. He turned pro when he was 14.
Yeah, it's amazing.
He won every contest he was in for 3 years straight.
Wow.
All the amateur stuff, 2 different whole things, everything. And he's even placing, back then they didn't have pro stuff along the coast except world tour stuff. And so they had like a pro thing in the amateur circuits called Pro Season. And he surfed in those, like the top guys in each category would surf in that one, like 6 guys in the finals, and he was in it all the time, and he was surfing against Tommy Kern and them guys back then when he was like 12, 13 and 14.
Amazing.
Placing in him a little bit, getting up close. So when he turned 14 and a half, he started surfing on the pro tour that they switched to California. They had a full pro circuit, and the first year he was number 100. Third year, he was like number 3, and second year and the third year, he's number 1. And then that year, he qualified for the world tour. Mm-hmm. He just made it by like a half a point. So he was number 40, and he went on that. And a lot of people's opinion, well, in my opinion, but anyway, if you look around, you see like at the time, like say Sean Thompson was the best guy in the world. Everybody just goes, Sean Thompson was the best guy in the world. And then Mark Richards, he was the best guy in the world. You could see that. At one time, my son Rich, he got to that status.
Yes.
And he could have been the world's champion really easy, but he had the Rodman effect.
Which is what?
So he lost all his sponsors, and the judges didn't like him anymore. And so no matter how much he won in the contest, they wouldn't kick him through. And so it kind of knocked him out there. But I think he was, a lot of people say he was probably the best guy in the world for about 3 or 4 years.
It became political, the surf?
Political? Yeah. It is.
Okay.
100%.
Tell us about that.
You go down there and the judges, man, and they're sitting there, and I've seen between those guys, they just like a guy because they knew his father or something, or the guy's a groovy guy, so he's a nice, likable guy. And I've seen people kick through, and they're losing completely, but they win. I went into I think it was a WSA thing, and this guy was running, and I was having a problem. And the guy that was running the contest, I went into his tent to ask him a question. And he was sitting in there erasing the scores and changing them.
You watch that? You would?
I saw him doing it.
Oh my goodness!
And I've seen guys that are heavy duty people going back of the judges and say yes, no, yes, no.
Amazing.
And they're doing it now with no problem, man. They're still doing it. I know a lot of the guys that are on it. It's like a bummer, but that's the way it is.
How do we change that? Because that should not be the way it is.
How do we change it?
Yeah, is there a way of changing that?
Well, if you have a lot of money, you can go change it in your favor, but that's all you get.
Okay.
You'll never get it by politics or anything else. You can't do it.
Okay.
So the way it goes.
So you're saying, and I've watched Richie in real life surfing. The guy's phenomenal surfer.
I saw him do stuff that nobody today can even do it. When he was, I've seen him do it with my own eyes.
No, yeah, I've seen, and it's well documented.
Yeah,
and he still surfs well today.
Yeah, he tries a little bit. He's older, but he has a bad back.
We're all older.
He's kind of burned out, but he goes out and he lives on the North Shore, and he still goes out every once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're watching him make these leaps in pro surfing to become one of the best in the world. Are you at this point giving him advice? Are you guys talking about board shapes and stuff? Because he was riding Wave tools.
Well, we played around with it, but he just went in his own direction as far as shapes go.
Was he shaping for himself, or were you shaping his boards?
Oh, I did it for a while until he was 11.
Oh, wow.
And then he was complaining too much. So I said, just go make your own boards. So when he was 11, he started making his own boards.
That's amazing.
Yep.
That's the way to learn.
He did really good, man. He makes boards way better than I do.
Does he?
Okay. But his design, as far as the shape on the bottoms, is different than mine. And so, he does what he likes, and I do the way I think works.
Okay. But you guys, as shapers, and I'm going to say all shapers in the world, you guys are like artists. You guys have your own theory on how.
Everybody pretty much does. But I would say most shapers in the world today, they copy the guy next door to them, and they go, well, I'm going to make mine a quarter of an inch more or a half an inch less. And so mine's better than theirs. And that's the reality. And I can go next door, and there's 50 different companies getting their boards glassed next door. I look at them all, and the only difference in them is the labels. Because my friend owns a shaping machine, and I watch him shape them, and I see them, they're all exactly the same. There's very little variations.
So what are you saying about the surf industry? It's kind of dead? Or, I don't understand. I do understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree with what you're saying. I'm just saying there's more and more guys putting themselves into becoming a shaper, trying to be.
Oh, no kidding. There's guys, if I got a little bit of money or I have some ego I need to pamper.
There you go.
I just go over there and have Swing Dog over there in the shaping machine burn it out. He finishes up and pure glass glasses it. They throw their label on it. Those guys, they're really good on the internet with the computer, and they can sell you your arm back to you. They sell 10 times more boards than I can, and I've been in the industry forever. They sell so many boards, it's unbelievable. They all complain about the China thing, or this and that. I go, well, what about the Goombosh guys that come and go? And they only last for a little while until they run out of money or they run out of pampering their ego and they want to go do it somewhere else and they're gone. They come and go. So I figured the way I look at it, if one or two guys leave, there's usually two or three guys that replace them, doing the same thing. And so I've been looking at that ever since I first started making surfboards back in the 70s. Guys coming and going. I make surfboards because I really love doing it. I've been doing it most of my life. I make a little bit of a living at it. And the other thing is I'm able to be friends with a lot of people and talk to them about their surfing thing and then talk to them about a relationship in Christ too.
That's important to you.
Yep.
Okay. You're still selling surfboards today. You still have people coming in.
We're sitting here in my surfboard shop.
It's beautiful in here.
We're waiting for somebody to come in through the door and say, I want that one.
I want them all.
Yeah.
All right. But I love that you haven't changed the label too. So you did start off, some of your boards are labeled Lance on top.
Well, there's a story behind that.
Okay.
We started doing wave tools. We had about 4 or 5 different labels back in the 70s.
Yeah.
And then we came up with that big one on the nose.
The Lance?
We started that rainbow thing up back in the early 70s. I started putting Lance on the boards because Quicksilver brought McCoy over here back in 79 or 81 or somewhere. And he was like making a big splash here in Newport. So I thought, well, I better put my name on the nose, So I put the Lance sticker on there for a while. So we were making 2 lines of boards. We're making the wave tools for the basic H ones, and then Lance boards were the signature ones that cost a little more because I did it. I know guys like Jerry Lopez and a bunch of other guys, they make surfboards and they put their label, they sell them for 10 times more money than I do. And I'm just going, what? Just because their name's on it. So like I raised mine up a little bit, because of that. But I still make the same board with Wave Tools sticker on it, if they want it,
It's an iconic brand. You've built this brand.
Yeah. There's just the basic Wave Tools brand, and then the Lance is the signature model. And then I make other signature models for my team kids that were here back in the 80s. They had me come by, and they have their own little special labels that they've signed. And we have their models, they're exact replicas of the 80s back in the Echo Beach days.
Oh, Echo Beach days, yeah.
Yep. That's it.
What do you remember about Echo Beach days?
Oh, man, it was like 56th Street went off. It was like a fun time,
Was it fun?
Yeah, there was a lot of attention down there when that happened.
There was.
And I don't know. It was a fun time, but it was a cycle of surfing, that came and went.
Okay. Where do you see surfing going today? Is it changing direction?
I don't know. I think that it's kind of like muffled down into a flat line. It's not nothing going up or going down. It's just flatlined. With what's going on now, it ain't going to go up or go down.
Okay.
So I see things come up and go, like sailboards, wakeboards, paddle boards.
Yep.
And there was
Foils.
other weird fad things that came and went back in the 70s.
But
and
they
in
all
the
go back to
60s.
surfing. It's funny.
Stuff comes and goes, but you know what? Surfing doesn't.
That's
it always
true.
is here.
Yeah.
And they're the main line is surf shortboards. A big ism back in the 90s or something came back where people started riding longboards again.
Yes.
And they were just grabbing old ones out of the garage and using them.
Yes.
And then they started, a lot of pro guys, they started really getting into it again. And that's a big thing going on nowadays. Like the kids are riding all longboards. They're into like old gronky things that they're not very maneuverable anything. They just kind of like the feel of an old gronky board out there. Whereas you look at all the pro guys and they ride super high performance light ones.
Yes.
But the kids like riding gronky things.
I mean, I can see it on some days, but you're right. That's all they ride, and it doesn't make sense to me. But everyone can live their own way, I guess. In my opinion.
No, it's fun. I seen the kids do that. They're into it. Like half the guys in the glass shop, almost all of them ride gronks.
Yeah.
They make their own and stuff.
Yeah. What do you feel about longboard versus shortboard?
It's just a whole different style, It's a different kind. It's like between riding a motorcycle or driving in a car maybe or something. I don't know. But longboarding it's its own feeling. And I make a lot of boards for guys that get shortboards and longboards.
That's what my question was.
But they just want to go out and they want to ride something different.
Yeah,
it's a whole
I get
different
that.
feeling.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you prefer shaping one kind of board over the other?
Nah, they're the same to me because I grew up making them. know, it's nothing. I mean, the longboard takes a little bit longer to shape, and I learned the characteristics of really good performance stuff back in the 80s when I had some really good guys riding for me, and we went and developed the first down-railed longboards. We got those going. A lot of us are still making them now. They work really well. They're real high performance. But like I said, there's a big segment of people that like ride Gronk boards. They're not very much performance. They just are big old heavy duty board.
They are.
Yeah.
I'm sure at Doheny they're fine, but yeah, in my opinion. But
Yep.
who cares about my opinion? We're here for Lance. I'm looking up. What about is that a gun up there?
That's Joey Hawkins.
Okay.
He was like the first world longboard champion.
Okay.
I was really fortunate to make boards with him for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
He helped figure out how to develop the high performance longboard down rails.
The bottom contours on a shortboard versus a longboard, are they totally different?
Yeah.
They are?
Yes.
How so?
Well, the shortboard, it's got say so many inches of rocker within about a 5.5 to 6 foot range, whereas the same amount of rocker is probably in 9 to 10 feet on a longboard.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. So it's just way less rocker.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you using the same templates for your boards as you were 40 years ago? Or has that changed over time?
I'd say I was making longboards back in the 70s. You know, I made my first one in 70 or 71.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't start really changing the way they were shaped until the early 80s when we started making down-railed longboards.
Okay.
You know, they're all pretty much the same back then.
Okay.
And not very many people back in those days. The 70s, hardly anybody made longboards. It was almost
gone.
Zero.
Yeah.
It was all just shortboards.
Were you shaping longboards in the 70s?
Yeah.
You've always shaped longboards. Just never
Yeah,
stopped.
I mean, me and two other guys are the only three guys riding a longboard at Huntington Pier back in the early 70s.
Wow.
I made my own, and they just had old boards where the noses were broken off, and they were out there riding them, you know. There were still guys like Takayama and a couple of other guys that were still making them, you know, a little bit here and there.
Right.
But you never saw them ever. And then Stewart came along, and he started making really a lot of them because he was into riding longboards.
Yeah.
And he started that store up down in San Clemente, and that really got that going down there. Myself, I think Stewart made the most that I could see. I made a lot of them. He did really well because he bought the longboard industry. He just paid for it, lock, stock, and barrel, and he owned it. And so if you didn't ride a Stewart, you couldn't surf in the contest.
Really?
So he did really good there.
Is that the right thing to do?
Oh, he helped him win.
Okay.
That's how you do
Fair
it, man.
enough.
That's business.
It's
yeah.
Is it business?
That's it, man. That's like you do in any kind of business, man. You kind of buy everybody out and take over.
Wow. Now, who does all your spraying on your boards?
I do.
Do you? Okay.
Yep, I really like painting boards. I'm not I do it pretty good. My son Rich does a little better than me, and I know some guys that do it all day long, and they're better than I do because I don't do it that much. But what I do, I really enjoy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's funner, the spray or the shaping?
To me, it's just doing stuff, you know, making surfboards. Just like if you're making a model airplane, you know.
All right.
Carving the wood out and gluing it together.
Yes. Yes. So they're doing a documentary on you right now, or on Wave Tools, right?
Yeah, this guy named Rob Hellpan.
Okay.
He's doing that, and he's got it pretty much all together, and they've been editing it.
Okay.
And
cool.
One of these summers, he's going to come bring it out and show it, you know, in the movies. It's going to be a really good thing to look at. He has interviewed all the top people in the whole industry about what they think about surfing and stuff, and this is and that, like what we're doing here.
Yes. So anything else about that documentary? Is it, how much is it involved with you? Is it all around you?
Well, I think a lot of the spotlight's going to be on me and Wave Tools. It still is circling around the whole industry, more or less, not just me only.
Okay.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, what do you feel about the surf industry, the clothing, everything tied to it, surfboards and all the offshoots?
I've done a lot of stuff, kind of bailed out of here in 2008, and I went and bought a ranch back in Tennessee to go do something different, you know, play the Judd Clampett back there reverse.
Okay.
And so I went out there and I did the whole works. I had a lot of acreage. I got all the animals. And I did all the trying to grow stuff, got tractors, built houses, and did everything back there. And I did that for about 12 years. I burned out on it. I sold it and came back here in 16 and doing this again because it was ranching's too hard. It's
Is it hard?
I could not. I didn't grow up doing it, And so I wasn't into it, but I grew up making surfboards. So I came back here and started making surfboards. And this is like not even the thought doing this. This is really easy compared to ranching. So here I am. I like making surfboards, and I can just sit in my chair here, sleep half the day, and the other half make surfboards and talk to you.
That's awesome, man.
In my little store.
Yeah. What's your address here?
1777 Placentia Avenue in Costa Mesa, and right next to Pure Glass.
Okay. So everyone, if you guys want a legit board-shaped, handmade by Mr. Lance Collins, that's where you want to go. I'll put the address in the show notes too.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Lance, once again, thank you for coming on the Quivercast. I appreciate it, man. I really do.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you, guys. This is Mike and Lance, and we're out of here. Later.
Boys and girls hanging round, surfers going up and down. That's when I caught my wave, knew what to do. Surf that wave right to the shore, and yes, dreams come true. Fantastic sunny day, boys and girls hanging around, surfers going up and down. When I caught my wave, knew what to do. Surf that wave right to the shore, and yes, my dream came true.
Hey, you guys. Endless Summer box set. This thing is legit. It's authentic. Numbered certificate in it. It has a 5-frame film strip from the original print. You literally own a piece of history. It has a specially minted bronze medallion. Dude, that thing's sick. Okay, there's so much more here. Go to the show notes. There's a link on there. Go check this piece of history out. This thing's rad. Seriously. Smithsonian American History Museum has it. It took 4 years of research with 3.5 in production, all hand assembled. This thing's rad. So much to this awesome box set. Remastered DVD, sharper images than the original film, but dude, this thing's so sick. Link in the show notes.